Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Thank you for tuning into another Supatease video. And I saw a lot of comments on my previous patch note update video saying, oh, this is the PTR release candidate. We're probably not going to see a lot of changes coming through. And guess what? The commenters were wrong. There are class changes that are coming through for patch 11.1 this week on February 12th, 2025. And we are going to be covering all of them to see what's getting buffed, what's getting nerfed, with only just a couple of weeks now until the patch officially releases. The drive system is receiving a lot of improvements and quality of life changes. It seems like they're really iterating on the feedback for this. So I'm still kind of hoping that these cars have some sort of PvP compatibility. Like if you got war mode on, you can interact with the cars somehow like Mario Kart style. Otherwise, I'm going to be disappointed, honestly. That's literally that's the main thing that is going to be selling the drive feature to me, is whether you can actually crash into each other and do things with war mode. If you can, I'm gonna be very sad. I'll be a sad camper, but I'm sure you guys care a lot more about the class changes. Blood DK is getting a 20% damage increase on all abilities. We have noticed damage dealt by tanks has not been keeping pace with damage dealers. We are adjusting damage of all tank specs to bring them into a closer alignment with DPS specs. In PvP, I am concerned. In PvE, I am very happy for you tanks. You guys deserve more than what you get for the role that you play and the blame that you always take from the useless DPS. But in PvP, I have great concerns. Demon Hunter is getting the Hunt buffed by 8% and Sigil of Spite damage buffed by 8%. So he seemed aimed mostly at tanks so far. For Eldrachi Reaver, Wounded Quarry has been updated. Expose weakness in the target of your Reaver's mark, causing your physical damage to any enemy to also deal 20% of the damage dealt to your mark target as chaos, and sometimes shatter a lesser soul fragment. We are mostly happy with Wounded Quarry's new effect in 11.1, but the soul generation component of its previous effect was important to the pacing of Eldrachi Reaver's gameplay and mechanics. In order to match the overall intended gameplay, we are updating the damage effect to have a chance to generate a lesser soul fragment. So you're just getting more, generation basically is what that sounds like. It sounds good. They fixed an issue where Wounded Quarry's damage was not scaling with damage multipliers, so just bug fixes, improvements. These all just seem like buffs. Maybe this one isn't. Fixed an issue with several abilities where double dipping on Thrill of the Flight's ability damage bonus. For Fellscarred, they're buffing this again. There's been some abilities in these patch notes that they buff like by 20%. Like Arcane Barrage is one that stands out to me. Mongoose Bite is one of them, and Demon Surge is one of them. It's getting another 18% buff. I think these demons are about to be just crashing out on all of us with massive AoE damage. Flamebound's bonus to Immolation Aura critical strike damage bonus increased to 50% from 30%. So a lot of AoE increases for Demon Hunter here. And it looks like that will be Havoc and Vengeance, as these are not specified to the spec for the hero talent trees. So these seem like just overall for the class. Havoc is getting a flat out 5% damage buff. Blade Dance is getting a flat-out 33% damage increase. However, its empowered version Death Sweep will not. Immolation Aura, on top of this change, is getting a 12% damage increase. Fixed an issue that caused Demon Hide to apply an inflated bonus for Immolation Aura, Sigil of Flame, the Hunt, Sigil of Spite, and Burning Wound. I don't know how much of a loss that's going to be. Maybe these offset each other. I'm not sure. These seem like much bigger numbers, though. Undermine Forset bonus now grants 2% critical strike chance per stack, up from 1%. This just seems like buff so far. Vengeance is also getting a 20% damage increase. I will say out of all of the tank specs, at least in PvP scenarios, Vengeance is probably not, it's still not going to be great, aside from being like a flag carrier or something like that. I'm not as concerned as this one as I was likely with the Death Knight one, because Blood DK scaling on Hard Strike can sometimes get out of control. So they're just bringing all the tanks up, it looks like, with this update. And you're also getting a nerf on your Fellscarred. So Havoc is getting an 18% buff, and you're also getting 18% buff, but then they're drawing it down. So does the buff or the nerf come in first? Because, again, that determines what the end result is. So you're getting Vengeance getting a little bit weaker on that, but Fellscarred for Havoc's pretty happy about this. For Druid, Lycaria's Meditation now requires players to remain in cat form for 2 seconds, modified by haste, to retain the cat form crit bonus if they entered cat form by casting Skull Bash with fluid form. We do not want to incentivize players to do inconvenient or unintuitive rotations to maintain Lycaria's teachings buffs from off-spec forms. This change is intended to remove incentive for Resto Druids to cast Skull Bash on cooldown to trigger the cat form bonus, which they can do between casts because Skull Bash is off of the GCD. This is an inelegant way to close that loophole, but we feel it's worth it to keep Lycaria's Meditation and keep Skull Bash in fluid form. I feel like that could have just been like an extra cool thing, you know? You could decide whether you want to use your Skull Bash for an interrupt or decide to use it to give yourself a little bit of stats. I don't necessarily... I don't know if like sometimes you might want to save it. I guess some wrestler druids be like, nah, dude, I gotta kick on cooldown to get my buff or something. But I don't. That seems like this is like a lot of effort over something that I feel like is not a super big deal. Guardian druids gain a 20% damage buff. That's just across the board. Tanks are getting stronger. Restoration. Master Shapeshifter now refunds 30% less mana from caster form spells. I think this is already not too strong since they converted it from a PB talent to a baseline talent, so it's just even weaker now. So mana regeneration nerfs to Resto Druid. Remember, Druid is getting like a massive rework on everything. Has some likelihood of being like really OP with all the other changes. So like you look at this in a vacuum, you're like, oh, why is Resto Druid getting nerfed? It's just because they're doing so many other things to it to improve it. Evoker. Disintegrate now displays a more subtle visual when viewed by allies in raids and dungeons. Why not PvP too, man? That laser is freaking huge, and you got mass disintegrate blast and everything. Augmentation. Rumbling Earth deals 30% of upheaval's damage, down from 50. Fixed an issue where casting Breath of Eons with maneuverability would extend Ebon Might from free upheaval procs from the Liberation of Undermine 2-set bonus. This seems like really big nerfs. The Liberation of Undermine 2-set bonus chance to trigger has been reduced by 35%, and the Liberation Undermine 4-set bonus now has a 50% chance to trigger Essence Burst, down from 100. So Augmentation, they really don't like you. They don't like you guys. You guys are in every single Mythic Plus group. They don't like that. You're getting nerfed. And side effect of that in PvP is that you will also feel these nerfs. Devastation is just getting a 4% damage buff. I think you got buffed on the last round of changes as well. So just flat out buff for Devastation. Beast Mastery looks like they're getting an AoE buff, or nerf actually. Beast Cleave is going down to 80% from 90. Kill Cleave effectiveness is getting reduced from 90 to 80. Call of the Wild now reduces the cooldown of Barb Shot and Kill Command by 25% per pet, down from 50. I think that was because there was a lot of times where you overcapped on Kill Command. It was like you couldn't even get rid of them. You were getting them so much. So I'm not surprised they're taking some of that down so that, you know, just sitting there overcapped on Kill Commands the whole time. Fixed an issue causing Dire Command to grant stacks to Huntmaster's Call. Fixed an issue where summoning the pack leader Bear granted stacks to Huntmaster's Call. Okay, just some bug fixes. AoE nerfs, not a great one. Update here for BM. Marksmanship Hunter, Wind Runner Quiver bonus, precise stack chance increased to 100% from 50. Bullet Hell rapid fire cooldown reduction increased to 0.3 seconds, and volley cooldown reduction increased to 0.5, up from 0.25. And many issues related to Aspect of the Hydra have been resolved. Aspect of the Hydra's secondary spell effectiveness increased to 60% from 40. So trying to open up some talent options, I think, with Marksmanship Hunter with this one, with some buffs. Oh, God, Survival Hunter, you're actually getting buffed again. Oh, my God, okay. Flanking Strikes getting a 30% damage buff. They fixed an issue where Frenzy Strikes is granting its pet damage bonus twice. Fury of the Eagle is getting a 20% damage increase. And Fury of the Eagle will now will now splash beyond 8 units, up from 5. Pack Leader, Fury of the Wyvern, Wildfire Bomb extension increased to 5 seconds, up from 2. And remember, this is a patch where they're improving a lot of the secondary hero talents that people were just not taking a lot of the time. So Survival is looking like they're getting even more dubs. Mage, Mirror Images now have their Frostbolt missiles hidden for allies in raids and dungeons. Okay, I think they're trying to they're honing in on overall visual clutter and trying to get stuff contained, I think, more so with this, as we're seeing a lot of those kind of visual changes. Arcane Echo's impact visual is now caster only. Frostfire, excess frost now reduces the cooldown of Meteor by 5 seconds when consumed, up from 3. Okay. Isothermic Core now causes Comet Storm at 250% effectiveness, up from 200. So they're buffing Frostfire for fire, and Frostfire was not very good for fire. You played it because Sunfury was just so awful, but they're also buffing this one as well. Flash Freezer Burn can no longer trigger from combustions granted from Sun King's Blessings or Time Anomaly. Flash Freeze Burn combined with Sun King's Blessing was a large contributor to the resource and proc overflow Fire Mages can experience while using this hero talent tree. To remain consistent, we've adjusted the effect for Frost Mages as well. And this patch, they've been trying to tone down all of the procs so that you have to cast a little bit more, I think, is my understanding for Fire and Frost. Whether or not they can scale back all of the infinite number of modifiers that have been put in the game at this point, well, I think it's yet to be seen, but I think that is their goal. For Frost, Water Jet is now hidden for allies. They're nerfing blizzard damage by 10%. And for Frostfire, they're giving you the same type of treatment. Flash, freeze, burn can no longer trigger from Icy Veins, granted by time anomaly. So all of the little proc bloodlusts are not going to be giving you that extra benefit. Brewmaster Monk, you're getting damage buff, but not the same as every other tank. Only 15% for you guys. For Mistweaver Monk, they're decreasing your mastery, your Gust of Mist healing by 10%. Jade Bond now increases the healing of Gust of Mist by 20, down from 40. They're really targeting Gust of Mist. Rushing Jade Wind Kick now increases renewing Mist healing, though, by 150%. I think up from 100. I'm getting old now on my eyesight, so it was already bad and I'd misread these. Now I'm struggling. Resplendent Mist now increases Gust of Mist healing by 60 to 120, down from 75 to 150. And Manatee refunds 15% less mana. So it seems overall nerfs towards Mistweaver. And Mistweaver is another one, much like Resto Druid, though it's getting a whole bunch of other changes prior to this point. So don't take this as like, oh my god, I can't play my Mistweaver now, because I think it's probably unlikely. For Holy Paladin, Beacon of Virtue now costs 4.5% base mana, down from 5. Did Paladin really need more mana efficiency? Maybe it's got to be a PvE change for mostly PvE, I would imagine. Protection Paladins, you're getting a damage buff, but only 15%. Retribution, Final Reckoning is getting a 75% damage increase. I'm just not going to get one shot by Rep Paladins. I just think this is not going to happen. An issue causing Divine Hammer duration to be extended more than expected has been resolved. Herald of the Sun, Second Sunrise has been updated. Divine Storm and Hammer of Wrath has a 20% chance to cast again at 50% effectiveness. Previously, it was 15% chance at 30% effectiveness. Oh, see, are they bringing back the spam Divine Storms? Because that's how it was in Legion, where you could like radiate Divine Storms. Looks like they might be trying to get something like that going. Sun's avatar damage increased by 50%. So Herald of the Sun buffs, as most Rep Paladins, at least in PP, are playing Templar. Disc Priest, Discipline, Atonement, Heal, Impact Visual is now hidden for all allies in raids and dungeons. Just more visual clutter clear. Elemental Shaman, which is getting a huge update in this one. With all the changes prior to this. Chain Lightning Overload is no longer displayed to allies in raids and dungeons. Just visual clutter. Chain Lightning now displays a more subtle visual when viewed by allies in raids and dungeons. Earthquake Overload is no longer displayed to allies in raids and dungeons. Okay, so it's not a big update for you guys at all in this round. Enhancement. Hot Hands duration is reduced to 6 seconds from 8. Ashen Catalyst now increases the damage of Lava Lash by 8% per stack, down from 12. Chain Lightning now increases the damage of the next Crash Lightning by 10% per stack per target struck, down from 20. Electrostatic Wager now increases the damage of Crash Lightning by 15% per stack, down from 18. Chain Lightning's getting a 15% damage nerf. Wind Fury attacks getting a 10% damage nerf. Liberation of Undermine Foresight bonus now increases the damage of Crash Lightning on the main target, though, by 100%, up from 75. So putting more emphasis on the power of the set bonus, maybe to incentivize you to wear it, and then taking that power out of the baseline, I guess. But it is nerfs overall for enhancement on this one, and it was looking really strong, so I'm honestly not surprised. Stormbringer, Tempest secondary damage reduced by 15%, so they're also nerfing Stormbringer. Lightning Rod now deals 8% of the damage dealt by Maelstrom weapon spenders, down from 10%. Totemic Pulse Capacitator now increases the damage of Surging Totem Tremor by 18%, down from 25%. And Surging Totem's Tremor damage is just baseline reduced by 10%. So enhancement across the board, getting some nerfs. Restoration, Healing Wave now costs 2.5% of base mana, down from 3%. We're making adjustments to the cost of Healing Wave to solidify its role as the mana efficient heal. I like that. I think that should always be the case for healers. You got one heal that's like really fast but inefficient, one heal that's a little slower but it's more efficient. So you're always gambling on making the decision on like, do I need a really quick heal to pick somebody up right now, or can I play more efficiently? I feel like that gameplay has always been really solid for healers. So honing in on that choice more, I think, is a good decision on their part. Arms Warrior buffs again. These are big boy buffs. 20% on Mortal Strike, 20% on Overpower, 20% on Execute, 20% on Slam, 40% on Whirlwind. Colossus Demolish is getting a 30% damage buff. Practiced Strikes increases Mortal Strike and Cleave damage by 20%, up from 15. Arterial Bleed increases Rend and Deep Wounds damage by 5% per stack of Colossus Might, up from 3. For Slayer, Opportunist increases the damage and critical strike damage of your next Overpower by 25%, up from 20. This is buffs. Arms Warrior, I've been playing my Arms Warrior. It's pretty weak right now in the current patch for the War Within. This is the second round of buffs. This is the second round of buffs targeting them. You're going to be squishy, but you are going to just mow people over, I think. Fury Warrior, whirlwind damage, 30% buff. Onslaught as well, 30% damage increase. Mountain Thing, Thunderblast damage, 25% increase. Strength of the Mountain, increased Bloodthirst and Rampage damage, though, by 25 down from 30. So there's a little bit of a trade-off for Fury. It's not all buffs. For Protection Warriors, 20% damage buff. This is the scary one, bro, because Prot Warrior can already hit like 2 million executes. That's a scary one. And they're buffing the Thunderblast damage by 10%. I think Prot Warrior is probably the most scary of all the tank buffs that I've seen so far, at least in PvP. But these arms buffs are really massive. And it doesn't look like we're getting any PvP changes. We're just got some delve updates, delve improvements, a couple of item fixes, and bug fixes for the rest of it. So the big one with this is the arms warrior buffs for sure. A couple of nerfs targeting some specs that I think we're already going to be performing really good. And surprising buffs for survival. It just keeps going up and 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 up with every update, as well as with Havoc Demon Hunter for this round of changes. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video and this update. And thank you very much for watching the video. Make sure to hit the subscribe button so you stay up to date with news related to World of Warcraft. And I will see you in the next one.